9 o'clock Pacific. We're here to get better for the most important customer, which are the families that we serve, the agents that we serve. Super proud to be a leader of the mortgage coach community. We are, I think, the best loan officers in America. Every time a new survey comes out, last year we were 34% of the top 1%. It'll be interesting to see how we rank this year as a community of mortgage professionals. Want to remind everybody, what we are here to do. We're here to, innovate and reinvent the mortgage experience so that when a loan officer is meeting with the family knows their options. They're getting graphs and charts, whether they come into an office, whether they're meeting in a coffee shop. This is the way Mortgage Coach rolls. So again, my name is Dave Savage, CEO. I have two awesome guests today. I've got Mr. Rick Scherer out of Boston. Rick closed 281 loans last month for a little bit over 100 million. Rick, welcome to the call, brother.
Buddy, I wish it was last month, but yeah, definitely last year. The goal is to do 100 million a month, but not quite there yet. But yeah, Dave, thanks so much for making me part of this event.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to hearing how you're doing these Realtor Masterminds and driving success. And I guess I was pushing you a little bit there. You can tell I'm a sales guy. I'm always exaggerating a little bit.
I'm with you.
Yeah, right. So we also have Dan Rawitch to provide a market update, so we're all smarter than we were yesterday. Hey, Dan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning, Dave. Glad to be here.
Looking forward to having you, brother. So a couple reminders before we get into the interview and the meat of today's call. Next week, I'm interviewing a Keller Williams agent out of, East Coast, Baltimore, Tina Bellevue. Second time I've interviewed her. This woman is a rock star. She's going to talk about how she uses Facebook to sell and market. She sold 143 homes last year for 40 million, and her energy is crazy, And so don't miss next week's call. Last week's call was, just badass. I interviewed Leif Babin, co-author of Extreme Ownership, former Navy SEAL commander. I mean, I don't get intimidated before I do interviews very often, but, I was intimidated. This guy was super impressive. Last week's call, I think, was super important. I also interviewed Jocko Willink last year. I just think anybody who's serious about leadership, whether that's leading yourself better or whether that's leading your team better, this is not just a book to read. This is a book to study. The big ideas, call it the 13 big ideas, also happen to be 13 chapters. I'm not going to read these out loud. I would just ask everybody, if you're on this call and you didn't check out last week's call, go back and review it. To me, the big ideas that were most important is just the concept of extreme ownership. Leader must own everything in his or her world. There's no one to blame but ourselves. And I just think it's always a great reminder. I remind myself of this constantly. There are no bad teams. There's only bad leaders. So if something's not happening the way you want within your team, and even if you don't have an assistant, you know what? You got a team. You've got a processor. You got your realtors. If you don't like the way it's rolling, it's just all about you. It's all about leadership. So with that said, by the way, if you did have a favorite quote or a favorite big idea from the interview last week or the book, Extreme Ownership, please share that in the Q&A of the control panel. Always looking to include everyone. So if there's a big idea or something you really want to share, post it, please. So with that said, I'm gonna bring in Dan Rawitch. Dan, before I hand off the screen to you, I want to remind everybody that how to access what you're doing. So folks, you should see on my screen right now, that is my mobile phone. I have Rawatch, and green is good. Green means, at least for the moment, things are looking better. So if you're on this call and you have not downloaded this app, you don't know what Rawatch is, that's a problem, and you need to get with it. If you're on this call, I think a lot of folks miss the fact that there's commentary. Every single day we're updating the commentary, and if you click on the daily update from Dan Rawitch, you could click and watch that right from here. And something else everybody doesn't realize is you can share it. You could click a button, you could email it, you could text it, you could Facebook it, or you could clip that little excerpt and put it in some other marketing. So I just want to remind everybody that you have this, and all of the updates are shareable, as well as the daily update. That little screen right there, you could share it. So sometimes you're sharing it to let your customer know, I know what's up and this is what's happening. And sometimes you're sharing it playing defense saying, hey, I know rates are different than what you wanted them, but look, it's not me. It changed. So anyways, just wanted to shine a light on that. And with that said, Dan, I'm going to share your screen, have you provide a little bit of commentary that helps us all execute in the market.
Great, thank you, Dave. Yeah, I just have to tell you, I think that Rawatch is just an amazing tool, and I don't say that because I do the video. I just think that as a loan officer, it's something you really want to be looking at every morning. It helps you become a leader in your community, a leader with your real estate agents, a leader with your borrowers. And I honestly don't think I would ever end a borrower presentation without showing them the tool and showing them that I look at this tool and that I have their back. So I just applaud Mortgage Coach for developing this. I think it's one of the best ones out there. Okay, so this is a very colorful chart. And I wanted to just talk for a minute, rather than redo the Rawatch video I did this morning, which, as Dave said, I do every morning. And Dave, I think we're going on 8 years now, maybe nine years. I think we've been doing this together.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? But I very seldom talk about why I see what I see. But every morning I make a call, whether I think we're at the top, the bottom, of the middle of a particular move. I'm either talking about the very short term, this is what I think is going to happen today or tomorrow, and then I'll often touch on the midterm and then sometimes the long term. So today I wanted to talk about the why when I make these calls, and I also wanted to talk about my feelings longer term. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to really touch on these things very quickly. So each of these colors was really a different move. And so this one goes all the way back to, as you can see, November 29th. This was just after the election, after the big fall we had from 105. And what this is showing you is there is a climb up, and that's a trend line. So you can see the blue, this was a trend line up. Green, this was a trend line up. Orange, trend line up. And what happens each time you have a trend line up, every single time throughout history, this is a given, this is not an opinion, that trend line will get broken. And when that trend line gets broken, bad things happen, and they happen to varying degrees. They can be very bad things or they can be kind of bad things. Now, as you can see here, this blue line, we began riding it up kind of from a bottom of 101.80, and we continue to ride up. But this trend was broken at 102.40 as we began this skid down. So this was okay. We would have said, okay, we're just going to fall down, and I might have looked at this and said 102.40 looks like it would be a bottom. But then I would have said, however, if we break this trend line, something bad will happen. And in this case, something very bad happened, and it happened to the degree of from 102.40 to 101, 140 basis point fall. Green, here's another example. We began a climb at 102. We did touch 103. By the way, we have never closed at 103 since post-election. We ran up there, but these closes were more like 101.75, 102.75. So you can see it when this trend line was broken here at 102.70. Bad things happen. We fell 100 basis points. Same thing, orange, boom. So what we have here is we have a macro move going all the way back since the election of 101.80 to 102.80. So number one, I will tell you, we're in a trading range. We're in a fairly wide trading range, but it's not very difficult as a trader to play this range and make money if you were trading, or in your case, make money for your borrowers by watching the micro moves within this macro trading range. Hopefully that makes sense. So we know we're going to run up to 102.80, and we know we're not going to break through it. Now, eventually you will, but as I say every single week, breakouts are the exception, not the rule. And smart traders don't trade on exception, they trade on rules. Very rule-based trading. Now, by the way, if I were trading this market currently, I would have a buy order at about 103.10 just sitting out there. Because when and if that ever hits, it's going to be a huge move. If it never hits, my trade never gets taken. So you know that this is going to happen each time we hit 102.80. That's why I can tell you with complete confidence when you should lock. And now we're just about threatening this trend line here at 102.40, 102.50. Will it ride the trend line up? and continue up, history says no. Each time we have tested this trend line, we have broken through it. And so that's why I'm a rule-based guy, and you should play by the rules. So the smart money would say most likely this is not a bad time to lock because most likely we're going to run back down and test 102, 101.80. There's always exceptions, and that's why I'm not right 100% of the time. So hopefully that makes sense. Now I want to go a little bit faster here because I'm going to run out of time in a hurry. I want to talk about consumer confidence. I'm a big fan of this index. And the first thing I want to show you here is this is consumer confidence going back 50 years. Each of these gray area lines, these are recessions. And look at how smart the public is. The public knows so much more than any economist. So you can see here consumer confidence was riding high. And for some reason, I don't know what was going on in 1969. I was 11 years old, probably smoking cigarettes behind the locker room. And when things, the market said we're going to fall, and we fell into a recession. Same thing here in 1976. We just started falling, and we fell. So each time the market has predicted recession, right? You can see here, hang on, I got to move my little panel. I think this one's very interesting. When everybody was so bullish and so crazy and so happy, and consumer confidence was just really riding high, began climbing from '05, then all of a sudden the market said, I don't think so anymore. And we continue to fall, and we fell right into a recession. Now here we go again, and we have climbed very high. You can see in history, at least in the 50-year history, there's only a couple times we've been higher. And each time we've been this high, it's kind of been a precursor to a recession. I'm not predicting a recession is going to happen right now. I am saying that when consumer confidence gets to a certain level, it's certainly something to think about. Let me go. Sorry. Okay. Now, Dave, how am I doing on time? Sorry.
You're all good, brother. 3 more minutes.
Okay. All right, cool. So this is another graph. This one's going back 15 years. And what I want you to pay attention to for a minute are the purple lines and the gold lines. And what we can see, purple is actually the present conditions. And so people presently feel good, and they don't think they're going to feel this good in the future, but the future expectations are much better. And the main takeaway here from this slide is that when these two things get farther apart, something's going to happen. Either people are going to start feeling way worse, or they're going to start feeling way better, and at some point expectations and the present reality always meet. They always meet. So I'm always watching the expectation line, and I was getting kind of nervous in 2012 because the present conditions were exceeding the expectations, and that wasn't sustainable, and we had some pretty big dips in GDP. In fact, we went negative in 2014, 2015. So once again, the public was right. Now what's happening is quite different. The expectations since the election are actually running up to catch up to the present picture. This is why I'm currently a little more bullish on the economy than I've been, and that's because the consumers are talking to us. And it's this whole Trump euphoria. I will make no political comments. I never will in this venue. I will just say that I believe that this euphoria is completely overdone. Actually does not walk on water. No man cannot be able to pull off this agenda anywhere near that he hopes. And it's not a slam against him. It's not a vote for him. I'm just telling you that he's not as good or as bad as anybody believes. So that's why I refer back to, I do see good times ahead, and I see good times ahead until these two lines meet. When these two lines meet, I believe that's the end of this run, and I believe that's when you're going to see this next gray line start forming, and that could happen soon. And that doesn't have to be bad for the real estate market. It doesn't have to be a bad recession, but it could mean lower rates in the years to come. So to summarize this current thought is, I don't know that we see a 10-year bond back below 2% this year. If we do, it's going to be a very short-lived, and that's because of the current expectations of the consumer. They're going to keep rates higher. They're going to give the Fed the ammo that she needs to keep rates higher. We may see a slide back down sometime next year, but this year, I think this is your current reality. I think it's a darn good reality. I think it's a good picture. Lastly, Dave asked me, so every day I do a thought of the day, and I get emails a lot. People ask me, hey, can I use your quote? Anything that I do, anything, if it's mine, it's yours, and you don't have to give me credit. Just take it. I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy helping people, and so feel free to use anything. I also get asked, where do you get these? I don't know. They just come into my head. This is going to sound very strange. I suppose if you have a spiritual slant in your belief system, you might understand this. But I think come from somewhere else. And if you read the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill interviewed most of the wealthiest, famous people in the world, and many of them said the same thing. In fact, Thomas Edison said, when I got confused about the light bulb, I used to close my eyes and picture a solution, and I imagined an infinite intelligence flowing above me, and that I was able to tap into that. And it sounds crazy coming from me, but when Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison, and others said it, it starts not sounding as crazy. There is some sort of universal consciousness, and I believe we all tap into it. I've written a couple of books, and in my book, I honestly don't know where the words on the page came from. So these thoughts from the day, I just think about what can I tell people to most benefit them, and an idea springs into my mind. And every morning I think there's no way I can come up. I'm out of ideas, but yet now for 8 or 9 years, every morning a new idea comes. So this morning, there's a difference between yourself and an elite performer. Now, guys like Rick, he's an elite performer, but Rick will be the first to admit there's somebody above him. There's a rabbit he wants to chase. Dave accidentally said he did 100 million last month. He did 100 million last year. Trust me, Rick's thinking about getting to 100 million, and probably he'll find himself somebody that is doing that. So there's a difference between even the elitist performer and yourself. And that difference is a choice that you make every morning, because nobody is better than you are. Nobody knows more than you are. Nobody is smarter than you are. We're all gifted with the same things, and all you have to do is decide that you don't want that gap to exist. Identify that gap. Talk to guys like Rick. He's on the call to tell you how to close that gap and catch him, and then close it. It's that simple. That's all I got.
All right, man. Well, that was awesome, as always, Dan. Reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, download the Rawatch app. If you don't know how to do it, email support@mortgagecoach.com. If you watch Dan's daily video up every day, first of all, you're super smart because you do that. And 2, give us some feedback. Dan lives to give impact. So share what you love about what Dan does in questions. I would love to share that as we wrap up the call. And Dan, as always, thank you for everything you bring to the community. I am so grateful for you, brother.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for letting me share.
All right. Well, hey, jump in. It's time for our super special guest. We have Rick Scherer, top loan officer. Rick, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit about your platform, the market you're in, your production, your team, and then we'll get into the meat of the call around how you're doing Realtor Masterminds.
Yeah, first of all, Dan, thank you so much, buddy. That was a treat to understand consumer confidence and the indexes and all that kind of stuff. So that was great. I'm also working on the business plan as well to get to 100 million a month. So I'll share that with you guys once. So.
I knew it.
Once I can figure it out. But yeah, so my name is Rick Scherer, loan officer in the Boston market. I've been doing it for about 15 years or so. Made the transition from a boutique mortgage company last summer to a guaranteed rate. Really just looking for a lot more support, which in the short 7-8 months I've been here, I've received, and it's just going to allow me to really plug in and be of service to many more real estate agents out in the marketplace and not be chained to my desk. So the last couple of months has just been to reverse engineer where I want to be in the next year and figure out how to get there. And so, yeah, the platform has certainly allowed me to start that process. So my team is made up of myself. Pam Silver is a licensed loan officer, senior loan officer. She's been with me for 5 years, been in the business 15. She sits in the office all day long, hand-holding clients, working through applications, and her and I are really sharing that role with doing TCAs for every client, walking them through other options, setting expectations up front about a 5-star customer service that they're going to receive throughout the process, but letting them know up front, and really just giving them, letting them know how exactly this is going to go, and if it doesn't go exactly as planned, how we're going to jump in and fix that. I've got a sales assistant as well, Nick, 23 years old, just looking to grab a bull by the horns and get things done. So he's really works with Pam and I to really execute on the ideas that spill out of my head. and I've got two processors, a front-end processor and a back-end processor that look to handhold the client again with that 5-star customer service. Yeah, so that's essentially my platform. Who I've got working for me.
How many realtors do you get referrals from, like just monthly or every couple months, just so we get an idea of how many referral partners you're managing?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think like everybody else, you've got, it's the 80-20 rule. I've probably got 100 or so agents that will send me at least a deal a year, and then a couple of those will be a couple. But I've got my top 25, which I'm looking to grow that to about my top 40. I think by doing that and adding a ton of value, I can sustain that with the structure that I've got. So. But yeah, you've got the ones that you're 1 out of 3 people or 1 out of 2 or that type of thing, and it's just really identifying the people who are sending you business. Again, you've talked about it till you blew in the face. Your A's, B's, and C's, and then what are you doing with your B's and C's and moving them up? So.
Love it, love it. And what are your goals for 2017? How many loans do you want to close? How many new realtors do you want to add to the platform? Just give us a kind of high level on what your big targets are for the year.
Yeah, I don't know if you had this graphic, but what I did was I went out and had my sales assistant do a big foam board with 400 houses on it. And so my goal, I did 281. My goal is to help 400 families either buy or refinance into a better situation this year. I partnered up with a charity. I'm going to donate $25 per transaction, so it's 10 grand for another charity, and for that charity. And if I hit 401, I'm going to do 5,000. So they're behind me, they're helping me as well, getting the exposure out there. And so for me, it's 160 million and 400 houses.
Now, hey, by the way, did you send me that graphic? Is that one of the images that I have? Because I don't recall.
You know what? If I didn't, I'll send it to you, as we're talking. But I'm not sure if we can do it that quickly. But
no problem. I just thought that would be cool. Yeah, no, I love it. And again, if it doesn't take you off track, or if someone on your team's listening in, would love to see that. But bro, I love that goal. I love the way you netted it around families. I love the way you're making that visual. I think that's super powerful. Dan, any questions or comments before we get into the big topic of mastermind interviews or masterminds with realtors?
No, I just wanted to applaud Rick for having goals. I mean, there's no accident that he got to 100 million, and I think I heard him say 160 this year. And I just love how winners think. He's not going for 120; he's going for a 6% increase. That's impressive.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, let's get into the big topic here. So I have, my entire career been just a massive fan of masterminds. And as we wrap up today's call, I've done other interviews about masterminds. I've, done a LinkedIn blog post. I just think of any success I've had, masterminding with other peers in the industry, masterminding with clients is just it. So Rick, before we drill down, I want to see how many people on this call are doing some type of Realtor Mastermind event. So I've just pushed a poll question. Are you doing them regularly? Have you do them annually? You do them often? Have you never done a Realtor Mastermind event? And by the way, folks, if you're, I always want 70% of you to vote. That way I kind of know statistically valid who's our audience. So right now you're at about 43% of you have voted. That means 50% of you either multitasking and wake up, get in the game, or you just are those guys that don't raise their hand. So raise your hand. Let's get 70% of you to vote. We're at 56%, so it's wake up time, guys. Rick Scherer is here. He is going to tell you some ideas and strategies that could completely shift your career. The other thing that I love about this mastermind strategy is not only does it get you closer with agents, it makes you smarter. It makes you a better leader. It's a bold strategy that can make this business more fun. So, all right, 67%, I'm going to live with it. I'm sharing the results. So, Rick, there's a big opportunity for you to bring leadership. 85% of the people on today's call have never done one.
Uh,
6% are doing one regularly, 4% are doing one annually, and that means 4% have just done one in their lifetime. Hey, Dan Rawitch, any surprises on how I asked that question and how everybody answered it?
No, I'm not surprised. I think it's one of those things. Even you know, in my company in my region, really encouraged people to put these things together. I put together a presentation on how to put together your own leads group, and it's just, again, the average person won't take the above average step to be a Rick.
All right, well, guys,
Okay.
we're here to push you, and Rick, you know, why don't we just start with the first question? Why should everybody start doing these things? What's the
Well,
why?
let me just address the reason why I think a lot of people are hesitant to do this, and I'll tell you, because this is why I was hesitant to do it. And you know, I hired a coach 3 years ago, Mark Maneri, and you know, he pushed me really out of my comfort zone. So hopefully, I can add some leadership here and kind of push everybody out there out of their comfort zone. And the first thing I'll tell you is, you don't need to know everything. You know, I think a lot of times when loan officers have an opportunity to go into an office or opportunity to bring people together, they're looked at as, you need to have all the answers. What I'll tell you is, this is the opposite. Not even that. I get in front of everybody in the mastermind and go, guys, I'm not going to pretend that I know the answers to where all you guys are falling down. But the reason why I brought 12 to 14 of you who use the brain power of this room to help you guys solve those issues, I'm here just to moderate. That's it. And so when you can take yourself away from, oh my God, I gotta be the guy in the room up front presenting, the first thing I talk about when I get in front of the room is, this isn't the Rick Scherer show. You're not gonna hear from me how my rates are great, or my process is better than the next guy's, or why you need to work with me. I'm here to serve you guys to grow your business, and that's it. And when you lead with that, and you get everybody's their shoulders back, and get them to relax, and then you just get it going. So essentially, Dave, why I did this was, I think as loan officers, we're always looking to figure out a way to bulletproof our relationships with our real estate partners. I think that a lot of people's mentality is, we're as good as our next deal with them. You screw up a deal, you're never going to see that agent again. So all the tools in my toolbox, this being one of them, is how to bulletproof your relationships with real estate agents. And the only way that I've figured out how to do that is add value. And so it's not leading with rate sheets or open house flyers or donuts or anything like that. Literally, it's coming from a place of giving. And so creating these mastermind events is really going to allow you to do that. And so, first, why do you do these events? You do it to bulletproof your relationships. Who do you invite to these events? And you can start this off small. If you want to start this off with 6 people or 3 people, how I've done it is, I have found half the room that know me, love me, and trust me. Like, I'll pull out of those 25 people that I told you, Dave, use me on a regular basis. I pull from those guys, and then I'll pull from 10 that I know of, that maybe try to get their business, that know me, and say, hey, I'm looking to put on an event that I am going to bring people together in an atmosphere that's going to be open, honest, transparent, and really with people's mindsets of going in there to give more than they plan on receiving. And yeah, I fill the room with, again, on the buyer's agent side of things, I'd fill the room with between 10 and 14 real estate agents.
Got it. So 10 and 14 agents. How often are you doing these?
So I was doing them every quarter.
So like 4 a year?
4 a year per group, though. Per group, and sometimes people go. So what I've done, so the graphic that we're looking at right there is all listing agents. There's essentially there's about $300 million of business sitting at that table right there. And it's funny because I almost canceled this because I originally invited 12 listing agents to this event. And 6 of them had to drop out because home inspections, this, that, kids sick, all that type of thing. But honestly, 6 is the number for listing agents because they're all alpha. But the thing with listing agents is you need to be very, very sensitive to market competition. So all of these 6 people are from 6 different markets within Massachusetts. On the buyer's side, it doesn't matter because agents aren't fighting over buyers.
What about this picture? What's the makeup in this picture right here?
So this is my very first mastermind event that I put on. Okay, and so
you were figuring it out.
And this is where I was figuring out. I had the whiteboard up there. The room is in a hotel, dingy. You know, listen, he did the job, dingy. But you know, I was all pumped, and I sent this over to my coach Mark, and he goes, "The first thing you're going to do is upgrade the experience." Right. So if you click over to the next one, one of the other ones,
Windows, check it out.
Windows, just trendy. I got the board behind me, and yeah, so that's it. So the listing agent masterminds, it's filled with, I would say, 5 to 7 buyers. I'd probably go up to as much as 14 is probably your max, and I may even keep it at 12.
Got it. So I so love this idea, and everybody on this call. I mean, the most important takeaway is don't make it hard. I mean, keep it simple. You'll notice that Rick's doing half-day events. I mean, I've done multi-day masterminds where whale agents were flown in, wine and dined, lots of planning, lots of expense. I've done masterminds that are so low budget it's unbelievable. This is to me this is like a real sweet spot, Rick. I love what you're doing. By the way, if you're on this call and you have a question, you can submit those in the GoToMeeting control panel. And if you're on this call and you are doing masterminds and you want to brag about it, you want to share either a success story or some wisdom, I want to bring in the collective intelligence from the mortgage coach community because we just what makes us so special is we have just badasses that are part of our community. So if you got a question, ask it. If you got a success story, share it. I'll bring that in a few minutes. So Rick, let's kind of net out some results. I mean, this looks cool. It would be great to get with agents. Obviously, you would position yourself well. They would respect you more. I bet you learn a lot. But let's net out some results. How many new agents have you gotten as a result of this time investment? How much loans have you generated? Share some results.
Yeah, can I get back to that in just 1 second, Dave? Because I just want to set 2 things up just so we can translate.
You're the boss. You're the boss.
So these can absolutely fall on their face, 100% fall on their face. If it's not netted out 2 different ways, if it's not vetted out 2 different ways, I guess is what I'm saying. Is when you come up with who you want to be part of the mastermind event, there's an interview process. You need to have this interview process, and you need to vet out. Hey Susie, hey listen, I'm putting on this event in 3 weeks from now. It's on a Thursday morning. I'd love to have you come in and be part of the event. And but here's a couple of things that I need to make sure we're on the same page with before I know we align to have you in this event. And you really need to address the fact that these people that are coming there to give, to be open, honest, transparent, and really looking to use the brain power of the room in order to further their business, in order to help what's broken. The worst thing you can do is bring someone into the room who's a Cancer, who is negative, who is looking only for themselves. So that's a really important part when you figure out who you're putting in the room. And also bring about it some leadership around credibility, like accountability. Like, hey, I've only got these 12 spots. It's really gonna, if you commit to me, I really need you to know that you're gonna move a mountain in order to be there. Because again, I'm only inviting a certain amount of people. It's exclusive. It's invite only. You can't invite your office. This is just for you. I want to add value. So that's in the phone call. But when you're in front of them, like, it's really teeing them up for what's about to happen and setting expectations. that, listen, this isn't going to be the Rick Scherer show. You're not going to hear me get up here and tell you all about this, that, and the other thing. But what we're going to do is we're going to tackle 2 to 3 topics that I've uncovered context from you, because what I've also done is after I've vetted them out and they've agreed to be part of this mastermind event, I'm sending them a questionnaire. Dave, I think you've got the questionnaire, or at least the first questionnaire that I send out. To uncover contexts. The only way you can make this successful is if you know all of the information before you walk into the door. Where are people struggling with time management? Where are people struggling with business development? Where are they not going to cover off the ball when it comes to converting open house leads? Where are they, and what kind of opportunities that they have? So before these 12 people walk in the door, I know who's killing it in open houses and who's falling on their face. So my job as a mediator is to find out why they're not killing it and bring in and have, oh, Jessica, you said you convert 50% of your open house leads from your buyer leads from open houses. Share with us, how are you doing that? Well, Rick, I stand in the back of the room and I try to connect with them on 3 different things and blah, 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 and here's how I do it. Everybody's writing notes down. So uncover context is the biggest thing. So make sure you have the right people in there and finding out where their pain points are. Okay? Telling them how they need to behave in there, where everybody's idea is just because you do it a certain way doesn't mean it's the best. So, hey, listen, as the moderator, I may pull us in one direction, or I may put us back on track, or you might hear me go, hey, guys, we're going to move in this direction. So be upfront about that. Be open and honest, and guys, I'm here to make sure we stay on track and get you guys what you need in order to be successful. Okay, so that's really how you need to set this up. You don't need to know everything, but you also do need to let them know that you're leading this. And again, at the end of the day, guys, you are looked at as someone who's giving value, not someone who's looking for business. So my results from the mastermind events, again, I've strengthened relationships with the 10. So just to back up, I've done 3 groups of buyer agents. So one's got 10 in them, one's got 11 in them, and one's got 12 of them, 12 in there. I've got 1 group of listing agents. So that's my makeup. Out of those, the rooms have been pretty even as far as people I didn't work with before, who people that I've worked with before. And I would say out of the 30 people that I've brought, let's say it's 20 people, 20 agents that I brought in, there are 3 that I've not gotten a deal out of. So 3 out of 20 agents that I didn't do business with before. And I've gone so deep with the people, the 20, or call it the 17 that I am doing it, because now I know where they need help. In the mastermind or outside the mastermind, I have this thing. And one of the other things, Dave, that you had mentioned a few minutes ago was this is so valuable outside of the mastermind. Because I'll tell you, when you sit through this, and me, as you sit there, I'm sitting there with my hand on my chin, like just listening. So now, when I want to go and sit down with an agent who is not in the mastermind and outside, just someone that I've had to do a transaction with, I got coffee with them, or I can get into their world. Say, Susie, like, listen, if you could fix one thing in your business to like literally move the needle from being okay to like killing it, where in your business do you need help? Rick, it's my database, or Rick, I got to convert more buyers. Well, you've just sat in front of a room full of people for 3 different events, and now you've got all the knowledge to go, yeah, well, I'll tell you, some of the top agents that I work with are using, contractually or best agent, or all these things. You can go and add value. You can go send them a book afterwards. You can go and put them in touch with someone who's killing it, and really put them together and really come from a place of contributing to their business and giving a shit about it. So I'll tell you, I go deep with those agents, and it changes the whole relationship. It bulletproofs it.
I love it. I love it, brother. By the way, folks, Rick was able to forward a picture of his goals for the year. I think that's pretty awesome. You know, I love the way you visualize your goal. Make note, everybody, it's all about the family, and he's got a visual way to just color this thing in. So, Rick, if you could keep us updated, I'd love to see this thing build out, you know, a couple times a year.
Absolutely.
So, hey, let's talk about how you integrate Mortgage Coach into your relationships with agents. So, I do want to do a pop quiz, just put you on the spot real quick. And let's just say you were talking to an agent and you had a minute to tell them, you know, why the fact that you give a family a total cost analysis matters. So I would love to hear you kind of script that out. And then I would love to hear you describe how the fact that you are a mortgage coach, you know, would get integrated. Because I know, you know, when we were doing prep for this, you forwarded me a picture of this. I'm not exactly sure the context of where this is, but give me a minute scripting real quick on just how you frame Mortgage Coach with agents, and then let's get into how you might integrate that into your realtor value prop.
Yeah, it comes down to because we care. I mean, literally, that's because we want to make sure that your client, Mr. Agent, has all of the different scenarios and options spelled out for them. You know, I always lead with, does your current relationships spend the time to vet out a couple different options, put them side by side, and go deeper with what their needs and wants are? And I've never once had someone say, oh yeah, my guy does that. And so, you know, when I get in front of a room of agents, I always say, who in this room, like I'll have a screenshot of it, who in this room's clients deserve a total cost analysis to make sure that they're saving tens of thousands of dollars over the life of their loan, because we've asked a lot of the questions that other lenders aren't. You know, is your lender sending over in an email a breakdown of fees? Because we care. And so for me, it comes down to allows that, you know, a long time ago you did the thing with Todd Duncan around commission insurance, and really making sure that agents have the ability to pitch me, to come to me, as opposed to some of the larger lenders in the market or smaller lenders in the market. Why do they need to come to me? And so the graphic that you have up on the left-hand, up on the screen right now, is the benefits of a custom mortgage plan, and it talks about, this is in a book that I give all my real estate agents to go and grow their business, one of the tools in the toolbox. But the reason for this is to be a differentiator, because I hear all too often it's the real estate agent going, oh, they came with a pre-approval. Well, fine. Are you cool with that? Are you cool with letting that other person sign your check? Well, let me give you something to put in your toolbox, agent, in order to give me a bite at the apple. So if you scroll down, Dave, there's the call to action. I use some of the scripting that you and Todd did. With 15 quality minutes with Rick Scherer here to usually save you tens of thousands of dollars over the life of your mortgage. So, you know, cost analysis will show the extra mortgage option. I mean, that's huge. But I'll tell you that it's a lot easier for a real estate agent to show them this and say, hey, I know you came with this online loan, but for 15 minutes, just call my guy. At the end of the day, it's because we care, and we do them. I think I just looked at it. I think we're up to like 1,070 total cost analysis, Dave.
Yeah, well over 1,000. Well over 1,000, brother. You guys crush it. By the way, everyone, we do have scripting in our Quick Start Guide. So if you go to our website, mortgagecoach.com, under Member Services, download the Quick Start Guide. There's a number of scripts that have influenced Rick's scripting. So anybody that's on this call that you need an agent script, a borrower script, there is a place for that. Also, in our YouTube channel, I am starting to do more interviews with top mortgage coach professionals, and I did a script with Danny Harani just a couple days ago. I'll put a link to this, but it's just a 6-minute video where Danny and I netted out, you know, what does he say to a borrower, what does he say to an agent, and how does he get people to download the Mortgage Coach app. So I'll put a link to that in chat in just a minute, and I'm going to be creating a lot more scripts. Go ahead, Rick.
Do you have the video with Todd Duncan, and he's going to have credenza behind him, and
Yeah. You know, by the way, if you just go to your Mortgage Coach app, and I can't remember if you type in Todd Duncan or Duncan, and that script it's just live and breathing, you know. So I'll test that in a minute. And Marcy, if you could help me get that out to everybody, let's get them the, you know, within the Mortgage Coach app. I'm pretty sure it's Duncan. If you type in Duncan, it'll just play Todd's scripting. But Rick, super valuable. This is awesome. By the way, everybody, Rick, we're just getting flooded with questions, bro. I mean, it's just,
oh, cool.
People are really engaged with this content. Before I go to the bucket of questions, Dan Rawitch, anything come to mind or any questions you have for Rick before I bring in the audience and just fire hose Rick with questions?
Yeah, first of all, Rick, I'm just blown away. This is the best idea ever, and I just love that you took it. Because my mind, I like to think I think big. I was thinking, yeah, I'll do a mastermind group, or if I were a loan officer, I'd do a mastermind group, you know, maybe every week. But the fact that you've taken it to multiple mastermind groups with multiple different groups is just amazing. And your stat, I believe you said out of 20 realtors, only 2 or 3 have not given you a loan. That just speaks for itself. So amazing.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, one of those real estate agents I did not
already, and if so, please feel free to me. I'm picturing a lot of loan officers.
Hey Dan, by the way, you're coming in and out. Like, so you're talking and then your internet is killing you. So yeah, we hear you now, but just know that happened a minute ago. Dan?
Okay, got it. Yeah, actually, Rick started talking and he was cutting out, so it must be my end. Can you guys hear me okay now?
We hear you perfectly at the moment.
Oh, nice. Oh, good.
Yeah,
right.
So what I was going to say
question
is
being,
out of those 20 real estate agents, 2 have either family, one's married to a loan officer, which I didn't know about, obviously, to start before I invited them, and one has is their best friend from childhood. So, you know, those aren't the nuts that I'm probably going to crack, or at least I might be the second. But everybody else, just when they're getting so much value, they can't not put me in their arsenal. It just doesn't happen.
I love it. I love it. So talk to me about the prospecting, because I think a lot of loan officers might have some call reluctance, and what kind of pushback are they going to get? How do you work somebody through the fear of just calling that agent and say, hey, I'm doing a mastermind group. I'd love you to be part of it. Can we sit down and talk? Let's say out of 10 people that you talk to, how many out of 10 are going to tell you, sorry, I don't have time for this, or I'm not interested?
But, oh, by the way, 0 people told me no. 0. Now, like I said, we've said no to the actual event. Certainly, the things have come up, and like I said, the listing agents certainly because they're so high volume. But the fact that I got $300 million to sit at that table, you know, was a feat. But yeah, here's how you do it. Really easy. The first people you call are the 10 people that, or the 7 people that know you, love you, and trust you, that are gonna go, yeah, dude, I'm in. So when you go and call the other 7 that you know of, you say, hey, I'm putting this mastermind together, and I've got a great attendance, and you know, this is going to be great. And now you've got a lot more confidence behind your voice when you're going to, you know, you're not cold calling agents. I would literally go with people that, or people that know, love you, trust you, that say, hey, give me one person who's in your office or maybe in a different office that you know that would benefit from this, and make a warm introduction, and allow me to give them a call. I'll pitch it to them. I want to make sure it works for both of us, because again, this isn't I'm going to open this to everybody. And if it's a great match, then I'd love for you to join them. And by the way, guys, when you start this up, and I did this in the first 3 of my mastermind groups, is, hey, everybody, just to let you know, this is an experiment. This could work great, or maybe it doesn't. But we're going to give this a shot, and I hope that we're going to do these for the rest of the year. But just know, hey, we're going to give this a shot and see what happens. And then, but you know, like, watch the magic in the room. The second you throw out the first question, and maybe you throw out to someone in the audience that you've already prepped beforehand, you're like, hey, Johnny, you told me you do really great at this. I'm going to probably go with your first question. And all you're doing is letting them ping pong back and forth, keeping everything on track, piping in if you've got something of value to talk about, not yourself. And you'll just, that 3 hours will fly by. Typically what I'll do is I'll get them coffee, juice, and a light breakfast, get them for 3 hours, then I'll do about 2.5 hours in, I bring the lunch into the room, cater it, and it's a work through the rest of the 30 minutes, and they'll get them out of there. That's typically how I set it up.
Beautiful. Thank you for answering that question.
One other thing, Dave, just before you open it up, and I'll be really quick, is, guys, at the end of the day, follow-up on this is key. Like, if you want to really blow these guys away, when you're sitting there listening to all the things that they're having problems with, you figure out, okay, for this person's time management, this person's got 20 things going on, but really they need one thing, right? Figure out where everybody's thing is. Go ahead, get on Amazon, get it in 2 days, send them a personal note saying, hey, I heard what you said in the mastermind. This book gave me value. I think it's going to give you that. Like, if you guys can continue to keep pounding them with just awesome shit that no one else is doing, you're going to bulletproof these real estate agents. I absolutely love you.
Love it. So, folks, I want to make this actionable. And so, by the way, Rick gave us a document that you can download where it's an outline of some of how he does it. So that's available in the handout section. I'm going to rapid fire some questions. Also, several years ago, I made a private Facebook group called Mortgage Coach Mastermind Group because I'm just so passionate about masterminds. And I had 2 goals with this. One, I want you guys to mastermind with each other out in the local markets that you're at. So I propose that, you know, find another mortgage coach in your local community that you can go have coffee with, that you can meet up with. You know, do masterminds with each other as mortgage coach. And then also